Thank you all for joining me on a Friday morning. Good to see you all. My name is Penelope Brown. I'm Senior Content Director with the Manufacturing Leadership Council. This is, I think, the 22nd season of the Manufacturing Leadership Awards. So we're excited to be doing this again. And I think this is maybe either the 6th or 7th season that I've done this. I'd have to go back and count, but I think it's really exciting, and I'm just glad to talk to you all about this and hopefully give you a few tips for success. So after I go through this guide, I'll allow some time for Q&A, but if you've got any questions at any point, feel free to unmute. There's not a lot of us here, so it's not going to be overly disruptive, I don't think, or just drop your questions in the chat, whatever works for you. So, like I said, this is our guide for this year, and just wanted to start by going over some things with our general program timeline. As you probably know, we are accepting nominations now through January 16th. Some of you who've been around this know we tend to push that deadline a little bit because after the holidays, people are a little bit crunched, but we're going to all be aspirational and say that everything's going to be in by the 16th or thereabouts. So just keep that date in mind. After everything goes through an internal review to make sure everything looks good, we send it over to our judges panel for scoring. We generally give them about 2 to 3 weeks to get through all of that. After they are finished with that, we like to go through their scores and make sure everything looks good, do an internal scoring analysis by our content team here. We anticipate that we will be sending notifications about the sort of who's made the finalist cut around March 20th, 2026. We're planning a public finalist announcement on April 10th, and our awesome Manufacturing Leadership Awards Gala and Dinner this year is June 24th, 2026. And we are in a brand new venue this year after what feels like 40 years in Marco Island. I think really it was only about 4, but it felt like a long time. But we're moving to the Fairmont Princess in Scottsdale, Arizona this year. So really excited to just try out a new venue and bring a little bit of a new spin to the gala this year. If you are a member of the Manufacturing Leadership Council, you do receive 1 complimentary project entry and 1 complimentary individual entry with your membership. If you would like to know how to redeem that, just email me, or you can email the ML Awards email address on there, or your member contact that you have with the MLC team, and we're happy to help you with that. And just below that, there's a link here to our online resources and nomination forms. Let's talk a little bit about eligibility. You do not need to be a member of the MLC or the NAM or the IRI or any other acronym that's under our National Association of Manufacturers umbrella. Any manufacturer anywhere in the world is eligible to enter this program. Just know that a manufacturer, as we define it, is an organization that produces finished goods from raw materials and then sells them to consumers, wholesalers, distributors, retailers, or other manufacturers. While we do believe that software and standalone products and equipment and services and all those things are very important to this digital transformation of manufacturing, they are not eligible for this program. So just remember, this is a manufacturing project awards program. Not a product awards program, not a service provider award program. But there are opportunities for software and services providers to enter their own clients, which I can touch on briefly. That's not really the point of this call today, but happy to touch on that a little bit. We also last year started encouraging non-corporate entities to enter the awards program, so such as a university, a government organization, a trade association. Again, they can also either nominate manufacturers that they work with, or they can nominate if they're happen to be doing things in manufacturing themselves. We do welcome those entries as well. The projects must be tied directly to a company's manufacturing operations, and the really important part here is they need to illustrate how digital technology was a part of that project's success. Any single enterprise can enter up to 5 projects per season, but just know that we will only select 3 of those to move on, a maximum of 3 of those to move on to the finalist round. So you're welcome to place your bets and put in all 5 projects. Just know that a maximum of 3 of those will be moving on. Any sort of projects that we previously recognized or selected as finalists, those are not eligible for re-entry, but I'll touch a little bit about on that later because there is kind of a caveat to that, a but. And a project must have reached a significant development or deployment milestone within the previous year. So since our season started in September of 2025, anything that's going back to basically, let's say September 1st of 2024, if you launched something, you scaled it, or you deployed it after that time, after September 1st, 2024, you are welcome to enter that into this season of awards. Any questions on that before I move on? Okay. So this is really important. This is the judging criteria. And I do want to say, first and foremost, we at the MLC are not the judges of these entries. We go through a pretty painstaking process to recruit a really good, strong, expert-led judging panel that comes out of the MLC community. So these are executives who are highly experienced in manufacturing, highly experienced with digital transformation. These are the ones that are going to be looking at your entry. And if the biggest piece of advice I can give you is probably to keep them in mind as you're writing your entry. So what they're going to be looking for is process impact. Did this project transform a key process? Even bring about a new process that really resulted in greater efficiency and performance and cost effectiveness and all those great things, new value for the company. They're going to be looking at the business impact. Did this project aid in the company's growth financially and market share or customer satisfaction or reputation? One thing I do want to call out with financials, I know especially for companies that may not be publicly traded, the financial information can be sensitive, but as much as you can provide, even if it's just a ballpark figure, that really helps the judges to assess how successful and how impactful this project was. So just keep that in mind as much as you can share. All these entries are confidential and it would never go outside of that. I'll talk more sort of how we protect that later, but just if you can share financials and any sort of KPI, those are incredibly helpful for the judges. Also, they're going to be looking at the strategic impact. So how tied is this to the company's long-term business goals? Is it furthering your digital transformation journey? Is it going to expand your future growth opportunities? Use of technology, as I mentioned, it's really important to be tying how much advanced technology was key to enabling this project, as this is a digital manufacturing awards program. And finally, the project scale. So is it something that's just currently hanging out on like a production line or two, or it's just a pilot right now, or is this something that is really scaled up to throughout an entire facility or multiple facilities, getting used in multiple use cases? That scale is going to matter as well. Any questions on that? All right. I'm not going to dive too far into the project categories here. Like I said, you guys can take your time to read this later. All I will say about this is don't get too obsessed. Pick the best project that you think you can for the best category that you think you can for your project. I know the lines between some of these tend to blur a little bit, but every single entry that gets sent in does get reviewed, usually by me, that just to make sure that it's in its most competitive place. So for example, I'm going to be reading through the entries and making sure that everything similar is in the same category. So the judges aren't looking at, some kind of project and then having something coming out of left field that really doesn't quite fit with the objectives of the rest. So if you're going through your project and you're sort of, need someone to talk out what the best fit for you would be, I'm happy to do that. Just reach out. Like I said, don't get too obsessed with this. Just do the best that you can. We do have, I can count 9 project categories this year. I believe they're mostly the same as we had last year, but we did update some of the descriptions on those. So just give it a look. And like I said, do the best that you can. Okay, so let's talk about individual nominations. We also have categories for individual leaders who are doing all these incredible digital things throughout manufacturing. Once again, individuals that have been recognized in prior seasons are not eligible for entry in the same category for which they were recognized. So for example, If you had somebody that was recognized in digital transformation leadership, you can't really re-enter them again. But if they were in the next generation leadership category, for example, got recognized there, you're welcome to enter them in the digital transformation leadership category. Any company can have up to 3 individual nominees in each category. So we have 2 different individual categories. That means you can nominate up to 6 individual nominees. And basically but at the same time, that individual can be nominated in either one category or the other. So don't put nominations for one person in both categories. So this year we have our digital transformation leadership. This is sort of more of an emerging leader category. So this is somebody that has been in operations, has an operations career manufacturing for 10 years or less. And then, I'm sorry, am I saying this wrong? That's the next gen leadership category. It's early for me. So less than 10 years of manufacturing operations career experience as of December 31st of this year. Digital transformation leadership is meant for more of those senior leaders who've been doing digital technology and manufacturing for a while. So I would just differentiate it between the two. Digital transformation leadership, again, more of that senior leader category, next generation leadership for those emerging leaders. The judging criteria for these is a little different on each one. In digital transformation leadership, we are looking for somebody who has really made an impact on their company, is making a much larger impact in the industry. So for example, other leaders would look to this person and potentially see them as a role model for what a digital leader would look like. And also impact on manufacturing. So is what this person doing something that could also serve as a model for how other companies are conducting their operations? Next gen leadership, what they're going to be scored on is disruptive innovation impact. So that just means, are they really bringing new ideas to the table and making those happen? Collaborative innovation impact, are they playing nicely in the sandbox with other people? Are they working on doing things with cross-functional teams? Are they really taking that collaborative approach to solving problems and doing things in a new way? And finally, their social impact. So is this someone that's enhancing the perception of manufacturing's value, especially for other potential younger next generation leaders? Okay, so again, just to get back to who judges the nominations, I know I mentioned this before. These are industry experts that are looking at this. Generally, like I said, these are MLC members, they're past award winners. Each entry is going to be assessed by a panel of 3 different judges. We do a lot to make sure that we don't assign any entries to judges where there is a direct competitor or any other sort of conflict of interest. They are required to sign a confidentiality agreement before they assess any nominations. So we do try to protect your information in that way. And as far as I know, this has never been an issue in the history of the program. What does it mean to be a finalist? This is really great reason to celebrate. That means that your project has made it, or your individual has made it onto the next round to be shortlisted as one of the best in the category. Really, that's a mark of excellence. It means that your entry was given a top score. Is your entry confidential? Absolutely. If there's anything that we would be sharing publicly beyond the company name and the project title or the individual's name, we will make sure that we clear it with you. How do you pick the right category? I already mentioned this before. Don't obsess about it too much. Just do the best that you can, and we will make sure that it gets to be where it needs to be. If you are selected as a finalist, you're going to get 2 complimentary passes to the awards gala and dinner, again, taking place in Scottsdale, Arizona next year. You're also eligible for discounted passes to Rethink, which also happens in Scottsdale, Arizona. You're going to get 1 custom awards trophy that will be shipped directly to the address of your choice. You'll get recognition on stage during the awards gala. Welcome to come up and take photos with the rest of the finalists. And also inclusion in public announcements via social media, email, and other communications channels from the MLC and from the NAM. What happens at the gala? Some of you I know have been there before. It's a whole lot of fun. We announce all of our category winners. We have an excellent dinner. We have cocktail receptions. We give out our Future Manufacturing Award and name our big Manufacturers of the Year and Manufacturing Leader of the Year. But at the end of the day, I would just say it's a fabulous party. You don't have to be you don't have to be you do not have to be present to win. My gosh, it's early for me still. But we do, of course, encourage you to be there because, like I said, it's a fabulous party. How can you promote your award? We'll be giving you some great social graphics and press release templates that you are welcome to share. Make sure that you're sharing that with your teams, your customers, your executive leaders, all that great stuff. Future Manufacturing Award, I'll just go over this quickly. This is something that we sometimes choose particular about a dozen or so projects that we find to be particularly forward-thinking or innovative. Basically, this is something that we select from the MLC content team. If you put in a project nomination, you are automatically entered for that award. Manufacturers of the Year, Manufacturing Leader of the Year is determined by the MLC content team based on scoring and judges' feedback. So there is no separate application for that. Your project nomination or your individual nomination, again, is automatically entered for consideration for those awards. If unfortunately your entry was not selected as a finalist, it's not the end of the world. This is a pretty competitive program, and unfortunately not everything makes it through, but you are welcome to contact me. I'm happy to share with you judges' feedback and maybe any other suggestions for potentially improving the project or the entry. And if that project continues to reach additional milestones, if you're continuing to scale it, if you're continuing to grow it throughout your operations, you are welcome to re-enter that in a following season. Same thing, if an individual wasn't selected as a finalist, those individuals are also eligible for re-entry in a following year. All right, tips for success. This is what's really important. It's kind of what I mentioned to you before. You want to keep the audience in mind. These are executives with a lot of experience in digital manufacturing, but just remember that they do not know your story. Okay, so what's really important here is telling the story in a lot of detail. This is not a place where brevity is your friend. I've definitely heard from people over the years where they were just saying, well, I just trying to get this out as brief as possible and make it as easy as possible. And while I'm sure that's great from a readership standpoint, that unfortunately doesn't really tell the story of your project. So the more detail that you can give, again, asking the questions about what challenges this project attempting to solve, what's the impact that it's made, what is its realized or anticipated ROI, what are the KPIs around it, what is its future and how is it going to be scaled to other parts of the business. So those are the things that I would really keep in mind. If you don't read any other page in this guide, just be sure to check out this one. Same thing with individual nominations. You really want to look for what this individual has done to improve their organization and the manufacturing industry at large. What makes this person great? How have they shown innovation and leadership? So as complete a picture as you can give with these, definitely going to be your friend in helping you succeed with this. How to create a nomination. This is pretty easy. Everything goes through our awards force platform. It's an online entry system. You can save things as you go. So don't feel like you got to sit down and write the whole entry at once. You can just start out doing a little bit and keep going as you have more details or more information. But all those directions are there, pretty easy. If any of you happen to be outside of the US, which I don't believe any of you were today, but just in case, we cannot, this is an NAM accounting rule, is that we can't accept credit cards through AwardForce that were issued by a bank outside of the United States. We can still process your payment, we just can't do it through AwardForce. So if you're submitting this with a card outside of the US, please contact either me or again, your membership representative on the MLC, and we will make sure that we set up arrangements for payment on that. And that is the end. All right. Well, like I said, you're going to get a copy of this and a recording of this webinar afterwards.